Shadow's Trail, Chapter 6, The fractured truth returned to the beginning. The air in the shadowed realm grew heavier as Ellie and Lucas stood before the massive gate of unity, its shifting runes glowing with a foreboding pulse. The ground beneath them trembled slightly, and Ellie gripped the glowing map tightly. "This gate, it feels alive," Lucas muttered, his voice barely audible over the low hum emanating from the structure. Ellie nodded, her gaze fixed on the intricate patterns. "And it's waiting for something, maybe us." The map in Ellie's hand began to glow brighter, revealing a new path etched into its surface. Lucas leaned over to examine it, tracing the new route with his finger. It led them away from the gate and back toward a familiar area in Pinecrest's forest, one they hadn't seen since the beginning of their journey. "Why is it leading us back?" Ellie asked, her voice edged with frustration. "Sometimes, to move forward, you have to return to where it all started," Lucas replied. A haunted homecoming back in the waking world, Pinecrest seemed different, eerily silent and darker than Ellie remembered. Shadows clung to the edges of the streets, and the once vibrant town now felt like a hollow shell of itself. As they made their way to Ellie's family antique shop, the sense of unease grew. The shop, with its creaking wooden door and dusty shelves, was as she left it, yet it felt altered. The familiar trinkets and artifacts seemed to glimmer with an otherworldly light, as if the shadow realm had seeped into this place. Lucas stopped suddenly, his gaze fixed on the old sanded-down counter. A familiar symbol, the same one on the gate of unity, was carved into the wood, glowing faintly. "This wasn't here before," Ellie whispered, running her fingers over the etching. "Maybe it was," Lucas said, "and we just didn't have the eyes to see it." The mirror of memories behind the counter, Ellie noticed an antique mirror, its surface rippling like liquid silver. She didn't remember seeing it before. As she approached, the mirror shimmered, and an image formed, her younger self, sitting on the floor of the shop, playing with an ornate key she couldn't remember owning. "It's showing us something," Lucas said. "Memories, or clues." Ellie reached out to touch the mirror, and the moment her fingers brushed its surface, the world around her shifted. She and Lucas were no longer in the shop, but in a distorted version of it. The walls stretched endlessly upward, the shelves twisted and warped, and the objects seemed to float in mid-air. In the center of this strange space stood the same ornate key, glowing faintly. It floated above a pedestal made of shadow and light, constantly shifting. "The trial of truth." As Ellie approached the key, a voice echoed around them, deep, resonant, and filled with an ancient authority. "Truth is fractured. Unity comes with understanding. To claim the key, face your reflection." The mirror reappeared before them, and this time, it showed not memories but dark versions of Ellie and Lucas. These reflections stepped out of the mirror, their eyes void of emotion, their movements precise and mechanical. "They're us," Lucas said, stepping back in shock. "Not us," Ellie replied. "They're what we fear we could become." The reflections attacked without hesitation, moving in perfect sync. Ellie's doppelganger wielded a shadowy version of the glowing map, while Lucas's counterpart carried a ghostly journal. The battle was intense, with Ellie and Lucas forced to confront not just their mirrored selves but the fears and doubts they represented. Ellie's hesitation to trust herself, Lucas's constant need for answers, all were laid bare as they fought. In the end, it was Ellie who realized the truth. "We can't destroy them. We have to accept them." She dropped her weapon and stepped toward her reflection, reaching out a hand. The shadow version of herself hesitated, then did the same. When their hands met, the reflection dissolved into a burst of light. Lucas followed her lead, and soon, the dark versions were gone. "The key's secret," the voice returned, softer this time. "Unity begins within." The key floated toward Ellie, its glow intensifying. As she held it in her hands, a flood of visions overtook her mind, images of Pinecrest's past, the creation of the Gate of Unity, and the ancient beings who had once protected it. Lucas steadied her as she staggered under the weight of the revelations. "Ellie, what did you see?" "Everything," she whispered. "The truth about Pinecrest, the gate, and us." As the visions faded, the world around them began to shift back to the antique shop. But now, they were no longer the same. The key pulsed in Ellie's hand, and Lucas's journal glowed faintly with new, unseen entries. A new path forward. Ellie turned to Lucas, determination in her eyes. "The gate isn't just a doorway. It's a test of balance between light and shadow. If we don't succeed, Pinecrest and maybe more will fall." Lucas nodded. "Then we'd better be ready for what's next." The map glowed once more, revealing a new path, one that led deeper into the shadow realm than they'd ever ventured before. End of chapter 6.